with a delicious recipe that I am a big fan of. And if you are a fan of lasagna, you'll like this one just as much as the original. So today we're gonna be making eggplant lasagna. So let's go ahead and go over the ingredients. You'll need ground beef. I have about 1.5 pounds in this container. A little bit of oil for frying. Some marinara sauce. I have 15 ounces of ricotta cheese, some extra sharp cheddar cheese, some Italian cheese, some Parmesan cheese. I know it's a lot of cheese, but it's gonna be so good. Seasonings of your choice for the beef, 1 egg, and then I have some bell peppers and onions chopped up, and then I also have the world's largest eggplant. I'm sure it's not the world's largest eggplant, but this is the biggest eggplant that I have ever seen. So if you go to your grocery store and the eggplants are kind of small, then you may need 2. I usually just get 1 because they're usually a decent size. This is actually the largest one that I've ever gotten, but we're gonna chop it up and we'll see how it goes. The first thing that I'm gonna do is slice up my eggplant. I've already taken the green parts off the end. I'm just gonna cut the end off. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is slice my eggplant into slices that are probably about 1/8 of an inch thick. I do have one of those devices where you can just kind of slide it and slice it, but the slices just aren't thin enough for me the way I like it, because what ends up happening is if the eggplant slices are too thick, the edges or the skin around the slices won't soften up enough for my liking. To my experience, slicing it up myself has been better. Alright, so now I have my nice big plate of eggplant. And so what I've done is I have lined a kitchen cloth with paper towels, because if we cook the eggplant like this, what end up happening is it'll get too soggy and then you'll have a soggy lasagna, and that's not what we want. So I'm gonna take the eggplant and I'm going to line them on the paper towels. Okay, great. I thought I would need 2 cloths of paper towels, and that's why I have both of these out here, but I actually only needed 1. So now what I'm gonna do to kind of help get the water off of the eggplant is I'm just taking some salt and I'm gonna sprinkle it on top of all of the eggplant. So we're gonna end up trying to get water off of the eggplant for about 20 minutes. So what I'm gonna do is sprinkle the salt on first on this side, and after 10 minutes, I'm gonna flip them over and then sprinkle salt on the other side. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and cook my meat for the lasagna. And so the first thing that I'm gonna do is I've already turned my pot on medium heat, and I'm going to take a little bit of olive oil, put it in the pot, and I'm gonna go ahead and saute my peppers and onions so that they can cook a little bit before I put my meat in. Alright, so I've cooked my vegetables down until my onions look clear and almost translucent, and then I'm gonna add in my ground beef. And then I'm going to go ahead and add in my seasoning. So I'm using some seasoned salt, garlic powder, onion powder, some cayenne pepper, some Italian seasoning, and a little bit of black pepper. And we're just gonna cook our meat down until it has fully browned. It has been 10 minutes, and if you look closely, you can see that water is starting to come out of the eggplant. So I'm gonna flip it over, and then we're gonna put salt on the other side and let it sit for 10 minutes. All right, so my meat is brown. I'm just going to taste a little bit just to make sure it's good, because you don't want to get all the way to the end and taste your lasagna and find out that your meat was not seasoned well. And I'm gonna let that simmer for about 2 more minutes just so the salt can infuse into the meat. Alright, so it has been another 10 minutes and the water should be almost done evaporating out of my eggplant. So all I'm gonna do at this point is I'm going to take a couple paper towels, dab the water off of the top, and I'm gonna transfer it back to a plate. Alright, so my meat is done and I'm ready to add my sauce. I'm gonna drain the meat and then I'll come back once it's done for you to be able to see me put the sauce on. I'm done draining my meat and I've actually reduced the heat down to between medium and low. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pour on my jar of sauce. And I'm just gonna let this simmer while I cook my eggplant. Alright, so I have a pan on medium high heat. And what I'm gonna do is put some oil into the pan. You need very, very little oil during this process because you don't want your eggplant to start to soak the oil up. So I'm just gonna spread it out. And I'm gonna make sure that I know that it's very hot before I put my eggplant in. Alright, so now I'm gonna add my eggplant. I can only do like 3 at a time in this pan, but I'm gonna use 2 today so that I can make this process a little bit faster. You see it's nice and hot. And I'm just gonna let it cook on each side for maybe about 1.5 minutes. And then I'll flip it over and show you how it should look. You want it to be nice and start to brown on each side. So it's been 1.5 minutes and I'm gonna go ahead and flip it over so you can see how it should look. Alright, so you can see that it's nice and starting to brown, and then you can also see that the edges are starting to crinkle. Alright, they're looking good, looking good. In preparation for cooking my lasagna, I'm gonna preheat my oven to 350 degrees. So my eggplant is all done and it is looking exactly how I want it to look. And so now I'm ready to layer my lasagna. Alright, so I'm gonna take first my ricotta cheese, add it to a large bowl. Alright, and then into that ricotta cheese, I'm gonna add 1 egg. So now that my ricotta is ready, I'm gonna go ahead and start layering my lasagna. So I'm taking, I guess, a medium size round dish. And if you use a square dish, it really doesn't matter. And I'm gonna layer eggplant first. And it's okay if you have small holes in between, but if you need to tear some eggplant to get it to fit in the small spaces, that's okay too. Alright, so that's a pretty good layer of eggplant. So what I'm gonna put next is some ricotta. I'm gonna spread that out. And then I'm gonna take my Parmesan cheese to go on top of the ricotta. Then I'm gonna take some meat. And then I'm gonna put my cheese. I'm taking some cheddar cheese and Italian cheese. Alright, and I'll show you how it looks once I put my last layer on. Alright, so I have finished layering my lasagna, and now I'm gonna go ahead and put it into my oven. So I'm gonna keep it in the oven for about 25 to 30 minutes, and then I'll show you how it looks once it's done. At this point, it's been 30 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and take my lasagna out of the oven. And it is looking so good. Ooh, look at that bubble. Alright, so I'm going to let that cool down for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then I'll slice it up and serve it. I cut my lasagna up into 8 pieces, and I also made like a little side salad. So I just got some green leaf lettuce, some leftover bacon that I had from yesterday, and some sliced almonds. I usually put a little bit of Parmesan cheese on my salad, but since the lasagna already has a lot of cheese in it, I didn't do Parmesan cheese today. You can see that some of the cheese actually moved when I was slicing it. It might have still been a little bit too hot, but it's okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and take out 1 slice for me. It's still hot, so trying to be careful. That was a fail. Go back and get the rest of my little piece. All right, so it fell apart a little bit, but I'm gonna go ahead and taste it. I know it's good. I made this 1,000 times, but I'm tasting it for y'all. And it's perfect as always. So try out this recipe for yourself. And also don't forget, subscribe to my channel. Bye.